I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, August 7th, 2024, Town of Trumbull, Connecticut Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Everyone please join me in rising and saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
The commissioners had an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting. I have a motion to approve. Approval by, you're doing notes, Brian? I may help. The minutes have been approved by Commissioner Albaum. Do I have a second? Second. Moving forward, application.
Have a vote on it.
Oh, that's right. All in favor of approving the minutes? It's unanimous. Moving forward, I'd like to open the public portion of our meeting, and starting with application 2416, 685 Orchard Street, Jeffrey Delalio, for Kevin and Deborah Krosner. How are you, sir?
Good, how are you doing this evening?
Good. Did I mispronounce your name?
DiUlio.
DiUlio. That's another I. Ah.
Italians can't spell.
I thought it was an L in there. I apologize. Can you please state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Jeffrey DiUlio. My address is 20 Oak Road, Oxford, Connecticut.
Go ahead and discuss your proposal.
We're proposing a 20 by 24 addition off the rear of the home.
Sir, could you turn your microphone on? There's a button there that will turn the light green.
We are proposing a 20 by 24 family room off the rear of the home, which will be going into the 24'9" into the setback of the 50 feet.
Give us an opportunity to take a look at the site plans. Just give us a minute. This is a non-conforming lot already?
Correct.
Thank you. Commissioners, on my right, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Commissioners on my left, any questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who'd like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward. Is there anyone here who is opposed to this application? Please come forward. Thank you. Close the public section of our meeting right now. Do I have a motion to approve this application? Second? By Mayo. So it's a small lot. It's a tight neighborhood. Any comments, commissioners?
He's going directly behind the house.
Yeah. Any comments, commissioners? All in favor? Approved unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Application 2417-166 Pinewood Trail.
Before we move on, there are.
Oh, I'm sorry,
engineering
sir.
comments.
Thank you, Brian. Sir, hold on. Prior to engineering approval, an applicant must show compliance with administrative policy for stormwater management and drainage design standards.
It's already approved.
Thank you.
Wait for building.
Next application, 2417-166 Pinewood Trail, Scott Stroh, for Lucille and Carlos Gomes. How are you, sir?
Good, hello. My name is Scott Stroh of Scott WS Construction. My home improvement contractor's license is 0657609. I live at 143 Fall Mountain Lake Road, Terryville, Connecticut, 06786. I'm here representing Lucille Gomes of 166 Pinewood Trail, Trumbull, Connecticut, 06611. We are here requesting both a side yard and rear yard variance. The requested side yard variance is 6.4 feet to 13.6 feet in lieu of the 20-foot requirement. The requested rear yard variance is 6.7 feet to 43.3 feet in lieu of the 50-foot requirement. These variances would enable Lucille to construct an in-law apartment for her mother who currently lives alone. I've reviewed the addition with Brian Fitzgerald, and to the best of my knowledge, it meets all other zoning requirements. The lot is undersized in the zone and is pre-existing and non-conforming. Both Lucille and her mother are here, and we would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Commissioners, on my right, do you have any questions for this applicant?
Yeah, have you discussed this with the neighbors on the side where the addition's going to go? Looks like the Rices.
No, we sent out all the appropriate information, but we have not discussed it. I believe you discussed it with front yard, yeah.
Neighbors.
Any further questions? Commissioners to my left, any questions for this applicant? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to this application? All right, I'm going to close the public section of our meeting right now, and do I have a motion to approve? Mayo approves. Kim seconds. I'm sorry, DeCorpora seconds. Any comments?
Once again, I think it's pretty straightforward, non-conforming lot. The developer did articulate a reasonable reason for the addition as well.
Any other comments? All in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving forward, application
Excuse
20,
me.
I'm sorry, hold on. Prior to engineering approval, an applicant must show compliance with administrative policy for stormwater management and draining design standards and get approval from the Inland Wetlands Water Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Application 2419, 11 Hemlock Trail, Richard and Martha Olson.
Mr. Chairman, I need to recuse myself. The Olsons are a client, so step out. Also, for anyone who's here for 24-1889 Strobel Road, that application has been withdrawn.
Can you please state your name and address for the record, sir?
Certainly. My name is Philip Katz. I live at 85 Lincoln Street in Stratford. I'm here tonight representing Rick and Martha Olson. I'm a professional engineer, having practiced for 40 years. Rick and Martha had purchased this property in 2019 and have been considering options to renovate it for their retirement home. The property is at 11 Hemlock Trail and is in the AA zone at the north end of Pinewood Lake. They were previously to this commission and have been granted a variance on, the application was 22-38, dated September 14th, 2022. The application previously included a 4-foot front yard setback variance to allow 46 feet where 50 is required and expand, so they could expand their garage, and also a 15-foot side yard setback variance to 5 feet where 20 feet is required for a ramp and deck. And this was approved with the conditions that you had stated on the previous applications. Prior to engineering approval, applicant must show compliance with administrative policy for stormwater management and drainage design standards, and they also need to make an application to the Wetland and Watercourse Commission. In trying to establish a hardship, I ask you to consider the following. This zone requires a minimum lot size of 1 acre, road frontage of 150 feet, a rear setback of 50, side setbacks of 20, and a front setback of 50. The actual lot is only 0.34 acres. The frontage is 90. The rear setback is 80, and the side setbacks are 10 feet on the east and 6.3 on the west. Therefore, the lot and the house are pre-existing non-conforming, as you can see from the survey plans that you have. A good portion of the house is also within the side setbacks. So the lot is about 1/3 of the required size, and the frontage is about 2/3. Also, the backyard is also within the lake regulated area. So what they're trying to do in modifying this, and I can show you on this plan, this was the previously approved plan. This is the setbacks for the property. This is where they're expanding their garage. You can see it beyond this red line. And they were also looking at putting in this deck and ramp along the side. So that had been previously approved. So let me show you what the changes are from that approval. When they were laying out the kitchen, they had a kitchen designer look at it, and they said it needed a little more room in the front here for that kitchen. The only other thing that's changed, and it doesn't affect the variance tonight, but we wanted that as transparency to bring it to your attention, is they're going to extend the bedroom out a little further over top of this deck. It's already been approved in the deck, but we just wanted to make sure if somebody's comparing the two, that they see that difference. So the variance they're looking is to allow the construction of partial first floor addition to expand upon a pre-existing non-conforming side yard setback by another 4 feet toward the front. They have, let's see here. And then as I said, the bedroom would be expanded, but this again would be over the deck that had been previously approved. There are numerous variances that have been granted in this neighborhood, as I'm sure you're aware, and there are many pre-existing nonconformities in the area. So they have submitted all their notices to all the required property owners and received letter of support from Doug and Julie Bruce, who reside at 7 Hemlock Trail, adjacent to them on the east. And they also have a letter from Christine and Mike Egmont at 15 Hemlock, immediately to the west. In addition, there's several other letters that have been submitted to the commission. So in review, the hardships facing the Olsons are a pre-existing non-conforming lot. There's certainly precedent in the neighborhood for granting such variances, and in fact, they had received one previously for this property. They have supported immediate adjacent property owners, and therefore I ask on behalf of the Olsons that the board grant them a modification to the variance as required. Thank you.
Hold on, sir. Commissioners to my right, any questions?
Just so I understand, thank you for your presentation, but, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the applicant's coming back on a previously granted variance, just want to expand it just slightly, but they never built when that variance was granted, correct?
That's correct.
And the conditions of the property haven't changed since that's original?
That's correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Commissioners to my left, any questions? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who'd like to speak in favor of this application? I do have an additional letter here that was received yesterday that I'd like to read into the record, which was not included with the original application. I am Brian Donovan. I'm sorry, to whom it may concern. I am Brian Donovan and live at 8 Hemlock Trail, Trumbull, Connecticut, where I have lived for 24 years. I would like to show my support for the variance application for Martha and Rick Olson at 11 Hemlock Trail. The variance to increase the kitchen will greatly improve the functionality of the home and does not come closer to the property line than the structure already does. The existing houses on either side are also closer than the proposed addition. I believe the addition would fit into the neighborhood where the Olsons maintain a beautifully kept property. If you have any questions regarding my support, please feel free to contact me. I won't share his phone number, Brian Donovan. Anyone else here who'd like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone who would like to speak in, who'd like to oppose this application? Please come forward. All right, I'm going to close the public portion of our meeting, and do I have a motion to approve? Elbaum approves, Mr. Mayo seconds. It's very minor. Yeah, now the one question I do have is that on the application itself, it refers to the side setback. Do we need to amend this to include because they're going from patio to bedroom?
The side setback's not changing. They're not going to further encroach on the variance they already have.
The way it reads in here, a lot setback of temporary 20 is required. The way this reads, it says the applicants are requesting a side lot setback variance of 10.1 feet where 20 is required and 9.9 is proposed to expand the kitchen. Do we need to do anything for that back bedroom because the deck is different than having.
No, that's what I was saying. It's already in the
It's
envelope
already-
of the variance they were granted previously.
Just making sure. Any other discussion? All in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving forward, application 2420-634 Old Town Road, Jesus Sanchez and Ingrid Diaz. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. We have engineering comments. I should get it tattooed on my forehead. Prior to engineering approval, applicant must get approval from the Inlands, Wetlands, and Watercourse Commissions. Thank you. Application 24-20, 634 Old Town Road. We have a no-show? Okay, hopefully they get here before we end. Moving forward, application 2421. Do I have to ask for a continuance for them?
Let's come back to it.
Come back to it at the end. Application 2421, 50 Craig Lane. Attorney Chris Russo for Michael and Diane Vara.
Actually have the next three.
Settle in.
Folks, my name is Raymond Rizzio. Happy to be before you tonight. I'm in office at 10 Sasko Hill Road, Fairfield, Connecticut. Here tonight representing Michael Vara with regard to what I consider just a small one-car garage that he would like to add to his property. I've taken some pictures, which I can hand out to everybody. Just so you have it in by sight. And then I can point out exactly where everything's going to go.
Thank you, sir.
So this is it's a modest one family. It's but our hardship is it's a unique lot and it's a corner lot. So because it's a corner lot, we now have two side setbacks. So we're on the corner of Craig Lane and Blackstone Road. Our client had a shed. The shed has been taken down. And what our client would like to do is add a one-car garage. As you can see, it's only 12 by 20. I'm sorry, it's 12 by 20, and it will be basically, there's already, and I'll take you through the pictures, I'll show you the landscaping. So he has two driveways. Because of the grade, there's no ability to put a garage up front, and it would also be even closer to the street. He has an existing driveway they just used to park, and they had a shed back there. He's taken down the shed. The shed was he's putting the garage no closer to the property line than the shed. What also is if to hit a 50-foot setback, the garage would basically be in the middle of the backyard, which would make no sense at all. And there's also a slope down off Blackstone Road. If you take a quick look at the pictures, this is the front. As you can see, there's a driveway up front. But then when you look at the back, you'll see there's a grade slope that goes down. What I've done is taken a picture. He's got basically stakes where the garage will go. There's two pictures of that. I'll show you how far he is from any neighboring property. And then this is a view from the side looking across Blackstone Road with existing shrubbery that's already in there that would buffer the garage from any other properties. The garage will be 12 feet by 20 and 15 feet high. Our hardship is, once again, the unique shape of the property. And it, first of all, has two front setbacks. And secondly, is, I think, property's 230 feet deep by 75 across the front. So when you look at the topography, shape of the lot, two front setbacks, it puts them in a position where, and it's an undersized lot on top of that. We're in a half-acre zone. It's less than a half an acre.
And there was an existing shed that was there for 50 years that he's taken down that was just as close to the existing, and you already have shrubbery in effect. We would agree to a condition of approval that existing shrubbery will be maintained along Blackstone Road, so that if anybody was worried about any kind of, making sure that the garage remained buffered from any adjoining properties. But as you can see, the neighbor is all the way across the street, and you're looking at the side of their house anyway, so there's not even any windows on that side of the street. So this is about as unobtrusive a addition that you can do with, I will say, no impact. Our client has talked to his neighbors, and he tells me that all the neighbors just wished him good luck. So that's basically where we are. As I said, our hardship is the size of the lot, the shape of the lot, the topography of the lot, and the fact that we have 2 front yard setbacks on an undersized lot. For all those reasons, I'd respectfully request this commission grant this variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners to my right, any questions? Commissioners to my left? Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to this application? Please come forward. I'm going to close the public section of our meeting right now. Do I have a motion to approve this application? Reale, seconded by Corpo. Pretty straightforward, just a funky, small, skinny lot. Any other discussion?
No, he's not going further into the side yard than the shed was going.
All in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Commissioner, those comments?
I'm sorry. Prior to engineering approval, applicant must show compliance with the administrative policy for stormwater management and drainage design standards and apply for a driveway permit. A sanitary sewer permit may be required if existing lateral gets exposed. Thank you. Application 24-20, wait, did we just do Craig Road? Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry, application 2422, 123 Monroe Turnpike. M&J Property Holdings, LLC.
Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Raymond Rizzio. I'm happy to be before you tonight. I have an office at 10 Sasko Hill Road, and we're extremely happy about this project. I represent Dr. Fergalesky, who's here with us tonight of M&J Property Holdings. This is the property at 123 Monroe Turnpike. I'm going to hand out some pictures, a couple pictures. This is pretty straightforward, once again. So our client built this property. It's a mixed-use property. He built it because he has his own office down on the back level, which is a medical office. And then there's another room still for another 3,200 square feet of medical office. What's interesting is that he is basically filled the top level with what's called Mathnasium, which is a tutoring facility, basically open from 12 to 7 every day. Parents drop off their kids, come and go. There's 123 Pronto. If you haven't been there, you should try it. It's straight to-go food. What I did to even show that is I took a picture of 123 Pronto, and there's not even a seat in the site. But because it's considered a restaurant, even though it's pure takeout, it has the same parking requirements as a normal restaurant would. And then there's Mex on Main, which is primarily a takeout restaurant. It has a couple tables and about four bar stools. There's 1,250 feet left over. What he would like to do is put a small sushi restaurant in there. Now, what's interesting is we have basically the Max on Main is 1,306 square feet. The 123 Pronto is 1,194 feet, and the sushi is going to be 1,250 square feet, which will have 3 to 4 tables. We're required to have 27 spaces for that, plus another 5 for Mathnasium, which is 1,250 square feet. All of which are basically drop-off and to-go locations. We would like to, because it's a restaurant, unfortunately, it kicks up, we have a requirement of all these spaces for 27 spaces for very small demand. Also, what we like is the compatible hours. So we have the medical office down below. We have 24 spaces up top. Let me show you right here. Wrong space, sorry. We have 24 spaces up top and 25 down below. What happens is the employees for the restaurant at night park all their cars down here, and then it's basically pick up and drop off all day. We feel that in this instance, our hardship is that the parking regulations are written so that you have the same basic demand for takeout as you do for a full sit-down restaurant. And in this instance, we believe we have more than enough parking spaces. The building's been open for 5 years. The two uses work tremendously together. We've never filled the downstairs during the day with regard to the medical, and the upstairs, first of all, hasn't been full, and secondly, we have all the additional parking when they're busiest, which is at night from 6 o'clock on. As I said, Mathnasium is a poor drop-off, but it's treated as if a general office. You have 2 tutors in there who park, and then you have kids coming in and getting dropped off at an hour and a half intervals. So in this instance, the type of uses that we have don't require the parking demands that the regulations require. And given the fact that we have, and remember what's important about this is it's not going to say, well, what happens if the restaurants change? We can't come back to you and change if we can't come down with a 5,000 square foot restaurant downstairs. We have to come back to you with any changes in uses on the site because of the variances. So there are going to be 3 very small restaurants, the largest one 1,300 square feet. One of them absolutely complete 100% takeout. The other 2 are going to be sushi. Basically, most of the tables will be just for waiting. It's mostly going to be takeout, Japanese sushi restaurant that'll be basic in and out. The Mexican, I can tell you, I've been there many times, and I would say 75% of their people are coming in and taking out. Or what you have is a lot of DoorDash pickups, things like that. So it's interesting. These businesses are thriving there, but when you drive by, it doesn't look like there's anybody there because it's all mostly in and out. And then secondly, what we do is during the night, they have all the employees parked down below when the medical offices are on. So we believe it's the strict enforcement of this regulations, which punishes these small restaurants with the same parking requirements as these large sit-down restaurants is what's causing our hardship. And for those reasons, we respectfully request this commission grant this regulation. Sushi restaurant's ready to open up. He can't wait to get going. All 3 are really thriving. It's the 1, 2, 3 Pronto has just done hitting it out of the park. Excellent to-go Italian food, and it's worked out really well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. We believe this is one of those great mixed-use properties that work out very well. I also have the support of neighboring property owners, which I'll give a petition. Connexus to the south, they're in favor of it. 137 Monroe Turnpike is an LLC which has Re-Nex Right Choice and stuff. They have no issue with it, and building across the street has no problem. So it's a welcome opportunity. As the office uses get bigger and bigger in that area, it's an excellent amenity for those office uses rather than having to have cafeterias. And I think that's why they've been so successful. People don't realize how many office, because a lot of the office parks up on Corporate, how many office parks actually sit right off 123 there, and this has become an excellent amenity for the area. I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
So under the current regulations, you're required for 56 and you're asking for 49.
Correct.
7 spaces. I have no questions. Commissioners to my right, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Rizzio, are there any alcohol being served at that restaurant?
At the sushi restaurant?
Yes.
I don't think they have, no, they have not sought a liquor license.
Great, thank you.
Commissioners to my left, any questions? Go ahead, Joseph.
Attorney Rizzio, and perhaps looking for, I noted on the plans that there's handicap parking and that there were numerous modifications down through the years as required by the town engineer and or the planning and zoning. And I regarding the parking, you're requesting 56 versus 49 versus 56 required. How And how much impact is there on, what's going on with the handicap?
What's interesting about that, nothing's changing. We have 49, we've built 49, we're not reducing the parking. It's all just a matter of what the makeup is inside the existing building. So we have 2 handicap on both, on the upper level and 2 handicap on the lower level. So nothing changes.
Okay, so
It's just a matter of allowing us to have, to shift it's a matter of accommodating the uses within the building. So there's nothing physically changing.
so we're not adding or taking away handicap parking or?
Yeah, I'm not here to say I want to reduce from the 56 I have to 49. We have 49, but because of the way the calculations are affecting restaurants and not taking into account the compatible uses of on the site, which is what we're approved for. So in other words, we can't change anything on the lower level without coming back to you. We now have we have the upper level, which has a tutoring facility and 3 small, basically takeout restaurants, and then medical office down below. We will now be non-conforming. Any other changes that will happen on the building, we have to come back before this commission.
So any comments from the complying with town engineer, or there's no changes as far as?
No. Hold on. Yeah, no, there's nothing.
Specifically regarding the handicap parking, which?
No, that will not change at all.
Okay,
Any other questions?
good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, close the public section of our close the public session, and do I have a motion to approve? Seconded. DeCorpo. Pretty straightforward. I mean, it's all drop-off, pickup business, and any changes that for the usage, they have to come back for us anyway.
It works with the current usage.
Yeah, correct. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Oh, and I'm sorry, was this submitted for the record, sir?
Yes.
It was, thank you.
Commissioner, we do have comments.
But we do have comments. What am I doing? What am I missing here then? Oh,
Would you like me to read them in?
yeah, could you please read them for me? I'm sorry, I got it. Prior to engineering approval, applicant must obtain a FOG permit from the WPCA. Application 24-23, 900 White Plains Road for Trumbull Center LLC.
Folks, my name is Raymond Rizzio, 10 Sasko Hill Road, Fairfield, Connecticut. This is what appears to be a very complicated and large variance request that is more form over substance, and I'll explain. So what had happened is, and I'll take you through this, our client owns Trumbull Center. Client has proposed and gotten approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission an application to construct 50 apartments and about 12,000 square feet of retail restaurants that will go on the very rear of where the professional, currently, if you all know, the Trumbull Center, that old professional building. It will go from where the professional building is all the way to attach basically to the ferry or the liquor store over there. So in doing that, what they plan on doing is tearing down the entire building where the Starbucks, the CVS was, Marie's was, that comes down, and so does the professional building in the back. This, I believe, is 12,750 square feet, and this, I can tell you, is about 7,200 square feet. If you've all lived in Trumbull as long as I lived in Trumbull, I don't know when you're here, but I've been in Trumbull since 1964. Everybody knows Trumbull Center. It is probably one of the most non-conforming shopping centers around. We've got police parking out the back. There was currently not enough parking, which is one of the reasons why they're going to be tearing down these buildings. Was one of the big complaints. And then the lack of visibility for this main tenant that used to be in the grocery store. We have a tremendous amount of interest, but the biggest problem with leasing this property has always been its lack of visibility from the property. So our client intends on tearing down this building and tearing this building. Now, we've run into a couple issues. A couple issues are, once we tear those buildings down, first of all, the project is going to take a while to develop. We have interest rates that when this was originally proposed were at 3% that are now at 7%. We have construction costs that have probably gone up 30%. And in taking all that time, and a huge election coming up. Our client can't wait to get these buildings down. I know the town can't wait to get these buildings down. We run into a situation where we have these two buildings in square footage, 12,700 and 7,000. Once those buildings come down, which our client will take down prior to building the apartment building and the retail building, all that square footage goes away. Our client is reluctant to take down those buildings until such time as he knows he's starting the apartment building and the retail building. The hardship being that these are all pre-existing non-conforming uses, and once you take them down, they go away. So now you've lost basically 20,000 square feet of area. The alternative is to basically just mothball them and wait to see when your project comes up. You have basically under Connecticut law 5 years to do your project pursuant to site plan approval. Our client would like to get them down, the town would like to get them down. What we've done is we're asking you that we have the ability, these variances requesting represent the nonconformities that would allow to be remain if the building that was approved doesn't get built, that we'd be able to put those buildings back. In other words, we would be able to build back in the same location our 12,000 square feet of retail, and we'd be able to put back our 7,000 square foot office building. In the meantime, both those buildings are derelict, they need to come down. And talking to me when we got this approval was kind of like, what do we do now? Because if you're not gonna build this right now and you tear down those buildings are gone forever. So this is much more what I would say form over substance. This allows us to take the buildings down, but in effect keep their, the form of them, the ability to replace them at their current size in the future should the project not be built. And that's what it is. All these, every one of it's the parking variance, the coverage variance, and the coverage, parking, and landscape variances are all variances, are all the nonconformities that currently exist with the buildings in place. When the buildings come down, you can never get them back unless we have a variance that says you can put back a 12,000 square foot building and you can put back a 7,000 square foot office. And that's what we're asking tonight. So it's form over substance. It basically would say if this apartment building doesn't go forward, we can build a brand new 12,000 square foot retail building in the same location, and we can replace our 7,000 square foot office building. But in the meantime, while we're waiting, this allows us to take them down. We gain no square footage from other than what we currently have, and we don't get anything more than our current approval. And we can't do both. I think your town attorney will probably propose some conditions, or I could propose them, that would allow us, that would require that if the apartment building gets built, these variances go away. If the apartment building gets abandoned, that they can be built, but no matter what, you have to come back for site plan approval. So anything that has to be done, even the rebuilding in the same location, would bring us back to planning and zoning. What it wouldn't do is require us to get a variance down the road to put back what we currently have. What we also will do as a condition of approval, one of the things we propose, is as these buildings come down, is that we would re-landscape the entire front with trees, decorative trees, benches, and a nice sitting area with which that'll all be done we can say within 60 days of the building being demolished. And that would allow this area to get prettied up. It would allow this building to go away. It would expose the big building for current and future tenants. And it would take away the professional building, and as the financing and everything else gets worked out, all that demolition can take place and things can move forward. I know I kind of went in a loop. I'm happy to answer any questions. But we've been through this. There's also an appeal of the approval because we couldn't risk going forward taking these buildings down without some kind of variance in place. So what this allows us to do, like I said, is allows us to take down these dilapidated, non-conforming buildings, gives us the ability to replace them with new buildings down the road in the event we don't do the larger project. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I hope I didn't make it too confusing.
So my first question would be, that landscaped area in front along White Plains Road, do you have plans for that existing?
Right here.
So was that part of the approval of the
Yes.
P&Z? So what was approved by P&Z, you'd agree to within 60 days or whatever the time limit is for after demolition of the building,
Right.
they would match what P&Z had already
Well-
agreed to?
Yes, at 90%, and I will tell you why. So currently, P&Z had also wanted this,
I don't want to step on P&Z's toes is what I'm trying to say.
I don't think you are, because we have an approval that only applies to an apartment building in the rear of the property. What this is, so the P&Z wanted basically this whole strip of parking to go, strip of parking to go away.
Show us that. You know, you might as well just go to the microphones.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, let me, you know what, I can show.
So it's the area circled in red.
So the area circled in red and the green that goes is what we propose. The P&Z wants, if we build this new building, they want to take away these spaces here.
For added green space.
Correct. For added green space. And we don't have a problem with that if all the development shifts to the rear. However, if we need to replace the buildings,
It's going to go away.
yeah, it's going to go away anyway. So this would only come into play should we replace the 12,000 square foot retail building up front. That make sense?
It makes sense, yeah.
So we're
And the other thing, like you mentioned multiple times that you'd rebuild on those, like, I think one of the main reasons why we're all very confused about this application is obviously one of the main reasons why you guys are doing all this is to get rid of those buildings in front and open up that site. So, you know, one of the conditions I think we would agree to is that we would write the variance to give you the square footage and not necessarily say it has to be on those existing footprints.
That would be fine with us. We would like basically the ability to rebuild 12,575 square feet of retail and 7,200 square feet of office. And all of that, if you check with town attorney, will require us to go to planning and zoning for approval to rebuild them, but what it won't do is require us to come back for a variance.
Okay. Did you receive the email that Jim had
Yes.
sent us the amendment? So
Correct.
do you want me to read that to you so you have an understanding of where we're coming from as a town and this board?
I think I've been through it already, but I'll just take one quick peek.
So the said variance is limited solely for the purpose to reconstruct Building 1 as an office building and contains 7,200 square feet, and Building 6, which is the residential, but what we're looking for as conditions of approval would be the owner should demolish the buildings 1 and 6 within 6 months of the date of approval.
No problem.
Failure to timely comply with this condition shall make the variances void. The owner shall complete landscaping plan approval by the zoning board of appeals immediately upon demolition of the buildings 1 and 6.
Can we put 60 days within completion of demolition?
So 60 days. But that also requires us approving that landscaping, which
Well,
you do not
I'll give
have.
this to you now, and then you can approve it or not approve it. I mean, it's,
Any subsequent reconstruction of these buildings pursuant to the variances shall be subject to the site plan approval by P&Z. So no matter what you decide to do down the road, you got to come back to
100%.
P&Z anyway. The owner can only use these variances for the reconstruction of the buildings if the owner abandons the special permit site plan, which has already been approved, which you've already mentioned. Okay, yes, I think the only issue I personally have is knowing what is going to be done in that green space, more specifically.
There's a detailed.
Mr.
plan.
Chairman,
I think-
if I could jump
ahead.
in on that too. So Attorney Rizzio, I do think we're going to need some further detail on that, because what it looks like to me is that green space is the green space that's already there.
Correct.
Yeah,
But
and
it's all going to be improved, it's going to have,
But the understanding was, I believe in these discussions, that there would be a detailed improvement to that area and would include further landscaping upon the building that was being taken down. So I don't know that that's what we have.
I think what you can do is then condition upon approval of your, whoever you want, either a town engineer of a detailed landscape plan, and then if we can have to expand it, if he requires us to expand it in accordance with the losing that whole row of parking, then that's what we're going to do.
If you will agree to that as a condition of approval, then I think we can proceed tonight, provided, subject to approval by the town planner, that a
Correct.
landscape plan be approved within 30 days of approval of this application.
Fine.
That would include space in the front, up to and including the building that's been removed.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Attorney Rizzio. And the only other condition of approval, if I could, Mr. Chairman, is that if there's an approval, you are withdrawing the appeal pending in Superior Court.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't have any more questions. Commissioners to my right, any questions? So,
Yes, Mr. Cordone, do we have to clarify that the buildings, if they're reconstructed, will be reconstructed in the location that they are now, or is the language as shown on the submitted site plan sufficient? Is that, the
So-
site plan shows the building and that should be fine?
Right. The language in the application for the variances, that's a very good question, Commissioner Elbaum, and thank you for asking it. The application for the variances speaks of the variances they need for coverage, for setbacks, and landscaping, parking. But it doesn't necessarily specify the exact location. So I think what this variance would allow them to do is to reconstruct the 7,200 square feet of office building and 12,575 square feet of retail building somewhere on that property consistent with these variances. It would not have to be in the exact footprint that we're there.
Which we would like to not be constrained by that, because one of the reasons is the retail building is blocking the rest of the thing. But keeping in mind, any reconstruction,
that's a good in front
we
of
just
P and
don't have
Z.
to come back to the ZBA, but
Yeah.
we need P&Z approval and site plan approval on any reconstruction, no matter where it is on the site.
Correct. So that may give this commission some sense of comfort with that approval. And in addition to that, it also is conditioned upon that they are no longer proceeding with the special permit that was approved. So we know that they cannot also build the apartment buildings and rebuild the square footage you're giving a variance for tonight.
So ostensibly and theoretically, they could build the additional, if they had to rebuild the buildings, they could do it on the site where the special permit was granted for.
Correct, and they could abandon, and that may be preferable for what they end up doing there. It gives them some flexibility to redevelop the property.
If they wanted to they put 12,000 square feet of retail, and then on top of it, 7,500 square feet of office, if they wanted to.
However, that it would be subject to a planning and zoning application approved by our planning and zoning commission,
Correct,
correct?
they would have to come back, which is one of the conditions we added tonight, that they would have to go back to P&Z for site approval of that.
Right, and I'm just trying to clarify, and I know Commissioner Elbaum's question was related to this, the shifting buildings, you know, the special permit goes away, and now they put buildings anywhere they want. So they still have to go to P&Z and get some approval in the event that they wanted to rebuild the buildings that we're granting the variances for today, correct?
Absolutely, and what tonight does for the applicant is it protects their right to rebuild this square footage, which they have right now, if they take them down and don't proceed with the apartment building.
Thank you for clarifying.
And I think what Attorney Cordone pointed out to me was, this is, even though your regs require it anyway, once the buildings are down, it's a bootstrap way of putting it on the land records, making sure that, should the regulations even change down the road, you just can't go pull a building permit. This variance will require site plan approval for any reconstruction.
And that's just a point of clarification with regard to the landscape plan. Is that going to be a condition of our approval that engineering is going to review that? Because the way the amendment currently reads, it's an approval of a landscape plan by this commission.
Right, so we would need to,
We need to amend
we need
this.
to amend our condition to make it, what I would suggest, I believe Attorney Rizzio agreed to this a moment ago, and you can let me know if you don't, is that the landscape plan would be approved by the town planner in a location that includes the existing landscape area and in the vicinity of where the existing building is being removed prior to final approval of the variance or effective date of the variance.
So,
And the landscaping would have to be completed within 60 days after the demolition.
so those would be the two amendments to paragraph 2 of the conditions of approval.
Correct.
Thank you.
Question. Regarding the landscaping that's shown and you're putting it into the approval, is that within the state right of way? And if it is within the right of way, it's not.
No, it's not. These buildings are built so,
Back of the existing sidewalk that's there now.
yeah, you gotta, what happened, and I can talk to that, is this building was built before they had all these takings. So in fact, to build the sidewalks that were there, they needed the permission of the owner to put the sidewalks on their property, where typically those, under newer circumstances, those sidewalks would have been in the right-of-way.
Right-of-way's really on the street.
Yeah.
So there still will be that, that'll see where the walking is through the area, you know. The plan is so small, it's hard to see.
Yeah, right here. So these are the sidewalks out front. There'll be an entryway to come in off the sidewalks, then fences, and walkway in the middle surrounded by the green space.
Which one, where's the sidewalk, just to show?
The sidewalks are in orange, basically.
Okay,
They're wrapped.
okay. Okay,
This
okay.
is the property.
Thank you.
Commissioners to my left, any additional questions? Any additional comments, gentlemen?
I'm just reviewing the plan, right? So the topographical survey, and Commissioner Roshansky had brought up an issue with regard to whether the sidewalk was in the right-of-way. And listen, I'm not an engineer, but it looks like the property line, the sidewalk is outside the property line, which would put it in the right-of-way. I just want to clarify and get the correct answer to Commissioner Roshansky's question, and I'm looking at the topographical survey. Am I missing that?
I see your point.
I don't think it necessarily is going to matter for our approvals, but I want to be clear with regard to what we have the right to approve.
There's a portion of it that is within the right-of-way, I apologize.
Not a lot.
But, and there's an easement that goes there that allows sidewalk.
For our purposes and the approval with the condition, I don't think it matters for those purposes. However, for clarification purposes, we can only bind you to what's outside the right-of-way, correct?
Correct. But the sidewalks are in existence. Those sidewalks have been redone.
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
I can speak for myself. It's not going to have impact on my voting in favor or against this application. However, for a point of clarification, I just happened to check the topographical survey, and it does appear that part of the sidewalk is within the right-of-way, as mentioned by Commissioner Roshansky.
Yeah, that's already, and Commissioner, that's already been constructed and no intention to disturb it.
Right. As you stated, thank you.
Any other comments, anyone?
So just, Mr. Chairman, if I could interject. So the one question has come of the appeal that's pending. There was an appeal filed by the applicant for a couple of the conditions of their special permit approval. That's what's pending in Superior Court right now.
And our condition would be that be withdrawn.
Correct. And Attorney Rizzio, I'm just trying to process how we're going to work through this landscaping plan in a timely and effective manner to get your approval on board. So is there a way that we can establish an effective date for the variance within 30 days? And that gives the applicant and the town planner 30 days to approve the variance.
We'll get right in.
Therefore, the effective date, even though we approve it, the effective date will be 30 days out, and we won't, if it doesn't come together, then it doesn't get recorded non-approved.
Correct.
Thank you.
And that's based on the approval of the town planner's landscape, the plans presented to the town planner?
Yes, please.
Nobody's gonna push Rob around. You ever see his karate there? Nobody's messing with that guy.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? I'd like to open this up to anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this application. Anyone here who would like to speak against this application, please come forward. All right, I'll close the public session. Do I have a motion to approve? Now, yeah, we can go into the conditions later. Okay, approved by Reale, second by Mayo. So we have the framework here that was very nicely presented to us by Attorney Cardone. So we have these 4 amendments, which 2 needs to be changed to include a 30-day, how do we read all these amendments in
Sure.
and vote on them
What
specifically?
I would suggest is the first one is an actual amendment to the variance. So there
Correct.
should be a motion for the languages presented where it says under amendment, a second, and then any discussion, and then vote on that amendment. And then you're going to adopt your conditions of approval. We really don't need to amend those. You can just read them in as you want them
Okay.
to be. And then that would be a condition of approval.
So on the amendment, do I have a motion to approve the amendment? Or, go ahead.
Sure, I just want to make sure, so when you go through the conditions of approval, I know there were some things added.
Yeah, I have the notes.
Great, okay.
So do I have a motion to approve the amendment?
I'll move to approve the amendment.
And the amendment is, each variance is, said variance is limited solely for the purpose to reconstruct Building 1 as an office building containing 7,200 square feet, and Building 6 as a retail building containing 1,575 square feet, as shown on the submitted plan. However, we've already agreed that they do not have to be at those existing footprints of those sites.
I just believe you misspoke. It's
12,000, I'm sorry.
12,575 square feet.
Yep. It's seconded by Reale. Any discussion on that? I think all in favor
For the amendment.
of the amendment. Passes unanimously. So the conditions of approval: the owner shall demolish buildings 1 and 6 within 6 months of the date of this approval. Failure to timely comply.
Mr. Chairman, you may just want to read conditions of approval number 1.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna.
The first condition of approval. We don't have to
you.
vote on each one, do we? No.
No, but just to clear, there's 4
Yeah, so,
separate conditions.
yeah. So, number 1, the owner shall demolish buildings 1 and 6 within 6 months of the date of this approval. Failure to timely comply with this condition shall make the variances void. The second condition of approval is the owner shall complete a landscaping plan approved by the town planner within 30 days of the prior to the effective date of the approval of this amendment. Number 3, any subsequent reconstruction of these buildings pursuant to these variances shall be subject to a site plan approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Number 4, the owner can only use these variances for the reconstruction of the buildings if the owner abandons the special permit and site plan approval for mixed-use commercial residential buildings granted by the Trumbull Planning and Zoning Commission on April 25th, 2024, and the abandonment of the P&Z approval is recorded on the land records. And then the 5th would be the withdrawal of the current appeal in Superior Court, or in Superior Court.
Just one other clarification to item number 2 is that the landscaping plan will then be completed within 60 days of the demolition of the building. And lastly, I would suggest we adopt an effective date of
30 days after the approval of the landscape plan by the town planner?
No, I think we have to set the effective date now, which would be,
Okay.
we could do 30 days from now, which is, say, September 7th, that's a Saturday, so September 9th?
So the effective date of this approval would be on September 9th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Sure, if there's any other discussion on the
Any other
matter?
discussion?
I was just trying to absorb the second condition, because we made some changes to it. As long as you're comfortable with the way it was recited and council's comfortable with the manner in which it was recited, I'm comfortable with that.
I believe we've got it on the record. If there's any further questions or clarification, I'm happy to do that. Good? Good.
All in favor of approving this application? Passes unanimously. I'd like to conclude the August 7th meeting of the Trumbull.
Commissioner Chairman,
Board of
Mr.
Appeals? Oh,
Chairman,
yeah.
I think we had put off one that was.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Do we want to ask again if,
Can we ask, Mr. Cordone,
There's also engineering comments for
Oh.
application 24-23.
Ms. Rizzio?
Yes.
Prior to engineering approval, applicant must get approvals from Water Pollution Control Authority and Inland Wetlands Watercourse Commission. Prior to engineering approval, applicant must get approvals from Water Pollution Control Authority and Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission.
If there isn't anything, you have to read.
Okay, thanks.
We did have one other application. I just wanted to see if,
634 Old Town Road.
634 Old Town Road, Jesus Sanchez for Ingrid Diaz. Going once, going twice.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question for the town
Yeah.
attorney on this application.
Yeah,
If,
we had to grant them a 30-day.
well, could we approve it even if they are not here? Could we approve it on the paper, so to speak? I mean, they submitted an application, the application was timely submitted. You know, if we review it and it's fine, the reason I ask is it's probably of all the ones tonight.
It's the smallest one.
You know,
That's up to the commission to do that. I guess there's not a requirement that someone present. It's not been I can't think of a time where we've done that, but I see no legal basis for why you wouldn't have to do that.
So basically,
Everyone will still have a right to appeal. Mr. Fitzgerald, has the notices been given to the neighbors, and are we aware that those were filed?
Yes, they were.
So they're looking for 0.7 feet of a variance for the front lot setback and 5.5 feet on a 50-foot setback going to 44.5 feet. Is there any chance that everyone look at the application and the plans? Any comments?
No, but maybe we should, if we're willing to do this, we should just go through the process of calling it and
Yeah.
calling for opposition, reviewing it, and having a formal motion.
So commissioners, am I right, any comments on this application?
I think we need to call the
Oh,
applicant.
I'll call the application from scratch, I'm sorry. So applications 24-20, 634 Old Town Road, Jesus Sanchez for Ingrid Diaz, who is not currently present. So we will discuss this application without the representative here. Commissioners, am I right, any comments on this application?
I think this is relatively minor. Are we going to go into a work session, or are we still in?
Yeah, I think we just go right into work session.
Okay,
So we have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to
I'll
approve.
approve. Seconded? Mayo? It's under a foot in the front and 5.5 feet in the back. Small lot. Any other further comments? All in favor?
I'll just note for our work session that there's nobody in
Nobody
the
here.
audience.
Oh, I'm sorry.
so
Is there anyone here?
there'll be no-
Yeah, no one's
So
speaking
I'm
in
assuming
favor
no
or against.
opposition.
And for the record, the applicant submitted letters to all the abutting neighbors, and no one made any comments. All in favor? Do I have a motion to conclude our meeting today? Seconded. Yeah.